Hi honeys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat and today I am doing the books I hated the most in 2020. So get prepared to hear me bash a lot of books. So we're gonna start off with my least hated to my most hated books that I think, should probably be pulled from circulation. I hated them so much. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So let's start off with books that kind of bored me out of my skull and that I wish I could have my fucking time back. So first up is The Hole. This is a Korean book about a man who gets in a car accident and is paralyzed, and he's wondering why his mother-in-law is digging a hole in the garden. So I was listening to this during our neighborhood walks, which is the only reason I finished it, dear Lord. And basically, nothing fucking happens. The main character whines about his situation forever, even though he's a slimy asshole, and I felt zero pity for him whatsoever. So I don't recommend this. It was not good. Another one that I was bored by / mad about is I'm thinking of ending things. So a lot of people have recommended this to me and thought that I would like it, and I understand why, because it's kind of creepy and it's kind of weird. So we're following a main character who is going with her newish boyfriend to visit his family at this remote farm, and weird things start happening. Now, one, I was completely bored. The writing style is just not for me. So if it's for you, that's great, but in my house, this did not do anything for me. The second point is that I really hate when mental health is used as a plot point or the final plot twist or the grand reveal. I hate it so much I can't even tell you. As well as there is a mention of my mental disorder trichotillomania in this book. Is it done well? No, it didn't work for me and I didn't like it. And we tried to watch the movie and it was also terrible. So all around, just don't recommend this. Next up is Real Life by Brendan Taylor. This is following a black grad student who is studying and working in a small town, I think in the Midwest, and it's over a weekend, how he interacts with his friends and microaggressions and university life and being black in a small town. He's also gay and has a very toxic, abusive relationship with someone as well. Now, my issues with this are that I think the message is just so dark. Like, if there is a message, is it just nihilistic? Like, the whole thing, everyone treats everyone horribly. Everyone that claims to be friends is horrible to everyone else. The main character is horrible as well. There are instances of microaggression which are terrible. I totally agree. That was one of the strongest parts of the novel for me, and all the other parts were so horrible that I just was like, I hate everything. I think the reason why it made it to the books I hated list is because so many people had talked so eloquently about how this book is a literary new classic and how it just does amazing things. And basically, I'm like, did we read the same book? Did we read the same book? Because this was awful, and I'm not afraid to say it. So I hope that anyone who has the same opinion as me, you can feel some validation, because this is by no means a classic in my book, and I wish that I didn't read it. Next up is, unfortunately, another buddy read. I did this one with Jordan. This is Putney. And oh boy, did this one suck. So we're following a young girl who believes that in her childhood she had a love affair with a family friend. And when she grows up and she has her own daughter, she realizes that actually what happened is that she was groomed and, raped by this pedophile. And I thought that the story was going to go in a certain direction, and it does. And the end is not okay. The end, I think, completely reverses the message of the whole book, and anyone who reads the book, I think, would be left very unsatisfied, and let's just say justice was not done. So I didn't like it. I believe Jordan DNF'd it, so just go ahead and skip this one and read, you know, another better book. Let's talk about a book now that was objectively terrible in every way. This is The Graveyard Apartment, which was unfortunately our book pick for the Spooky Smart Bitch Readathon, which happened back in, I think, September. So the plot follows a family who has recently moved into this apartment next to a graveyard. And you think that creepy things are going to happen, and they do. However, the main characters are so terrible and awful that you don't root for them at all. In fact, I was rooting against them, like begging the malicious spirits to take them out. The plot is extremely slow and also doesn't make sense, and things are just thrown in that are never explained. There are huge plot holes throughout, which is really fun. Love to see it. And then the end just got so weird and unrealistic that I think generally everyone who read it was like, what the fuck was that? How did this get published? So normally I'm a huge fan of Japanese literature, as you know, but this one was horrible in every way. Terrible writing, terrible plot, terrible end, terrible message, terrible characters, just terrible. So skip it. And the last one in this terrible writing and plot type section is A Legend of the Future, which is Cuban sci-fi. We're following a spaceship which is being sent on a mission when they have an accident, and the crew has to decide what they are going to do to preserve their life in order to get the ship home to Earth with all of the knowledge and resources that they've collected from deep space. Sounds amazing, right? The formatting of the book is what does this such a disservice. There's no delineation between characters speaking and thinking. So you're never sure if they're saying it out loud or if they're having internal dialogue. You're also not given the benefit of indented lines whenever someone new is introduced or speaking or thinking. So in a single paragraph, there could be multiple people thinking or speaking, and you're just so confused. Honestly, I was just confused the whole book through. It gives me a headache trying to think about reading it. Like, I think honestly, if this book was, I don't know if they can even do this, but re-released in a reformatted way so that maybe spoken dialogue is in quotes and internal dialogue is italics and there's indentation, I think it would be a completely different reading experience. But as it stands, that is the worst book I read of the year in terms of formatting, even including all indie publishing. So I don't know what happened, but it was bad. We are to my worst 4 books of 2020, and the reason that I so vehemently despise them is because they are super problematic. So we're gonna start this off with Toddler-Hunting and Other Stories. I thought it was going to be amazing. It's super dark, creepy short stories by a female Japanese writer. Like, it's ticking all of my boxes. Once I got it, I started hyping it and was so excited to read it, and then I actually read it, and about every other story was super problematic in the extreme. So to illustrate the most, I think, gross example in the book is there is a story where a woman meets a couple, and the man in the couple has a back deformity, and she refers to him as the Hunchback throughout the whole story despite her knowing his name, and it was just, like, honestly disgusting to read, and I was super bummed that I had talked about it and like said that I had bought it, and I was super excited to read it because I know that a few people had picked it up, and I was just like furious at it. And it's a shame because there are a few stories in it that I wish had been separated out and put in a different collection. Like, maybe the collection could be split in 2. The stories that are published and then the stories that go like in a fire, you know? So that would be great if they could ever do that. My 3rd worst book of the year is The Wasp Factory by Iain Banks. This is a buddy read with Jordaline, and oh boy, was this just terrible. We're following a young man who lives with his father on this island, where he just does increasingly violent and sadistic things, such as like torturing animals, and he has this wasp factory that's set up to determine what he does with his day and what he does. So it's extremely dark, and I think this wouldn't have been on my hated list because I do like dark things. I like dark children. I like dark concepts. However, the twist in the end is so bad and so transphobic that I literally said out loud when I read it, what the fuck is this? The ones that I hate the most are often books that I think I'm going to like, and then when I read it, I feel like anger because I brought people's attention to these books when they don't deserve it. And in fact, we should just bury them, put them in the graveyard, and no one should mention the book's name ever again. No one should pick it up, no one should buy it, shouldn't be printed. Like, that's how I feel. So I was so furious because I had talked about it, Jordaline talked about it, and really the book should just be never spoken about again. Extremely transphobic, disgusting, do not recommend. My second most hated book of the year is Hurricane Season. And this one I read, I think, at the beginning of the year, and wow, is this a Debbie Downer in the most extreme way. So the reasons why I hated this book are many. So first off, it is set in a godforsaken small town in Mexico, and you have different points of view. Every single character is alternatingly horrible and has horrible things done to them. So this deals with like rape, trauma, transphobia, homophobia, like just basically all the trigger warnings are in this book. I'm not saying I don't read books with those triggers in them, because I do. It's the way in which it was told and the kind of point of all that suffering. You get to the end and there's basically no point. There's no hope. There's no point. It's dark just to be dark. It's trauma just to be trauma. And it's like suffering porn just to make you feel bad. As well, the writing style is just so hard to get into. It is run-on sentences that don't really make sense, and you're reading and it's hard to read it. Content, and also literally hard to read the sentences. And then when you finally get submerged into the writing flow, it's not a good experience, and it's just not good. There's no message. Everyone is treated horribly. There are some truly terrible things that happen in this book, and I just have to wonder why it was so highly praised. I felt really let down by everyone who recommended it for book prizes, and I hated reading it. I hated talking about it. yikes. And now is my most hated book of 2020, and I would like to award this shit stain of an award to No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. Again, there are many reasons why this book is at the very, very bottom of this barrel. I've always heard it's a Japanese classic. I've had it recommended to me by Japanese friends. I've had it recommended to me by literature professors. I've had it recommended to me by basically everyone under the sun who reads anything Japanese. How people sold this to me is that it's a dark coming-of-age tale of a young man in post-war Japan. What this actually is one man who believed he is privileged beyond all measure and that he deserves everything and he can treat everyone in his life like trash. He steps on person after person to get what he wants without ever working or ever taking anything seriously in his life. He gets other people sick, he gets them into debt, he steals, he lies, he I think rapes and cheats, and it's just like, why am I reading about this guy again? Why do I care about him? And in the end, he's awarded this great deal by people in his life who are concerned about him. And honestly, I'm like, this book should have ended with him either learning a lesson or dying because he didn't learn the lesson in time. I don't understand why this is such a classic. I really don't get it. And I really just hated it. So yeah, that is the end. I don't recommend any of these books, obviously. I will never speak about them again, probably. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. If you disagree with me, go ahead and leave your comments down below. But you're not gonna change my opinion. These are my hated books, and I don't see anything turning that around for me. So I got the most disappointing and the worst books out of the way for 2020, and upcoming we have, of course, my biggest surprises, my best dark and weird books, and also just my overall best books of 2020. So look forward to those books where I will rave in the opposite direction about loving the books. So I will talk to you then, and bye for now.